According to a quote, artificial intelligence poses a greater threat than nuclear weapons, I said potentially. You go on to remark that it's like calling forth the demon. Perhaps. How do you reconcile or make sense of the tension between artificial intelligence, deep learning, of course, which will undoubtedly play a significant role in self-driving cars? How do you consider that? Well, I don't believe we have to worry about autonomous automobiles because, well, that's not something that I think is particularly tough, and it's kind of like a narrow version of AI. I believe it's a lot simpler than people realize to drive autonomously to a degree that's far safer than a human. Elon Musk, the Tony Stark of our day, without the Iron Man costume, comes first. Musk concludes that the automobile industry, with its century-old custom of genuinely requiring humans to drive, is simply too boring. In order to create Tesla, a corporation that not only electrically powers automobiles, but also miraculously upgrades them while you sleep, he gets his hands dirty. It's like having a pet, only you don't have to walk it, and it doesn't urinate on your carpet. Imagine waking up to find your automobile has learned new tricks overnight. Now Elon's vehicles aren't your typical Joe vehicles. Regular internet brain transplants give these cars features you weren't aware you needed. It's as if your vehicle is saying, you know what? I can now do yoga every few months, and you're just admiring its downward dog while you stand there. And in my opinion, it's really quite challenging. I believe it's a lot simpler than people realize to drive autonomously to a degree that's far safer than a human. Let's move on to Elon's futuristic vision, in which operating a vehicle on your own is as antiquated as using a rotary phone. Autonomous driving, in his opinion, will become as commonplace as taking an elevator. When elevators had operators, do you recall that time? I don't. But what if we did, and one day they simply disappeared, and elevators began to function at the touch of a button? That's how Elon sees automobiles developing in the future. Because, in his opinion, nothing is more terrifying than having an eye operate your vehicle than you. Driving a car by hand will be viewed as extremely risky in the future, according to Elon, like balancing chainsaws on a unicycle. The idea is that cars might become so safe that they won't even require the bulky armor that they currently wear. Saying that our automobiles will behave so well in the future that they won't need to wear their bulletproof vests to the grocery store is analogous to that. About 100 million cars and trucks can be produced annually. Therefore, assuming the fleet remained the same size, it would take 20 years to replace all automobiles if they were autonomous tomorrow. Perhaps if things are autonomous, it could get smaller, but it's still, maybe 15 years or whatever. Additionally, not everything will change at once. It will take a long time. However, there is a catch. It will take time to make the switch to this ideal fleet of courteous, self-driving electric vehicles. Musk predicts that it may take 15 to 20 years to replace all of the more than 2 billion legacy automobiles that are already on the road with their autonomous equivalents. It's similar to attempting to replace all of the world's horses with automobiles at the turn of the 20th century, except with fewer hay bundles and more software updates. You can continue uploading new software when you have the hardware foundation, sensor foundation, and computing foundation. With a Tesla, at least you can, since it's always connected. You'll see that the qualities of the car you own are getting better over time. We have active cruise control now. The automobile in front of you will be tracked by it using a combination of radar and camera technology. As it looks at the brake lights, it assumes that the automobile has them turned on. It's also looking at some of the items that are coming out. It's going to get, basically, smarter and smarter, even with the current hardware suite. Therefore, Elon Musk talks of automobiles that are smarter than the typical bear, or smartphone, for that matter, in an attempt to transform our everyday driving experiences into a sci-fi reality. He introduces us to active cruise control, which is a sophisticated radar and camera fusion system that functions more like a psychic, anticipating that the car in front of you is going to stop because someone spilled their latte. This is not the kind of cruise control where your car idly follows the car ahead like a lost puppy. But hold on, there's more. Musk wants more than simply a clairvoyant vehicle. He desires it to be all-knowing. We're talking about a larger sensor suite and enough processing power to make your laptop feel like a calculator from the 1990s in order to attain complete autonomy, especially in those frustratingly unpredictable metropolitan jungles. It is similar to fastening a superhero's utility belt to your vehicle, only that radars and artificial intelligence brains are used in place of grappling hooks and other tools. The tough part is that it's just that kind of metropolitan setting at around 30 or 40 kilometers per hour. Right now, since we can do that with the ultrasonics, it's quite straightforward to deal with, say, things that are sub 5 to 10 miles per hour. We simply make sure it doesn't strike anything, because you can always, which for the most part is the appropriate thing to do. Why would you want your car to collide with anything? So, you can stop within the ultrasonics range at between 5 and 10 miles per hour. And then from, let's say, 10 miles per hour to, call it sort of 50 miles per hour. That area in complex, suburban environments, that's where, you can get a lot of, unexpected things happening. Let's move on to the problems and their miraculous fixes. First, we tackle the heart-stopping moments of rush hour traffic, where speeds range from glacial to snail-paced in the magical realm of autonomous driving. Musk suggests utilizing ultrasonics to prevent your automobile from becoming too close to the car in front of it, not for a fancy spa treatment. In essence, you're giving your automobile personal space bubbles that, if they burst, honk loudly. Children chasing balls, squirrels with death wishes, and bikers who believe they are in the Tour de France are just a few examples of the things that life throws at you at the suburban obstacle course, where the real fun starts. Musk's response: an automobile brain that combines elements of a psychic medium and a supercomputer, allowing it to see into the future and make snap decisions with the composure of a Zen master. It's about anticipating the mayhem of suburbia and navigating it with the grace of a ballet dancer, not just about dodging obstacles. Regulators are unlikely to permit that to happen for at least another 2 or 3 years after the time at which a car is unquestionably safer than a human, because they all want to see a lot of statistical evidence showing it's significantly safer than a person, not just as safe. This is what the computer would have done in each of these situations. Therefore, I believe you can do that by running it in shadow mode. And did a crash occur, or did it not? For example, what are false negatives and false positives? Once a sizable demographic group has been attained, present the regulators with a convincing statistical case. After that, they will consider that, look at it for a while, and decide whether or not they agree with it. And then, given the overwhelming evidence, I believe they will. Imagine this. Government rules are Elon Musk's worst enemy as he continues to push us toward a utopian future in which automobiles drive themselves and people are free to quarrel over the AUX connection. However, it's not all superheroes and capes. It's more about using the allure of hard, cold statistics to persuade the authorities. Musk's scheme: use self-driving cars in shadow mode, which is essentially just the cars fiending to drive themselves in order to gather data. It sounds like a covert spy operation. Getting all the proof required to convince the authorities that these robotic chauffeurs are, in fact, far safer than people is like having a ghost driver who is exceptionally skilled at avoiding collisions.